We will be wiring discrete inputs and outputs to an XGB PLC. This will be the lighted push button start and stop. In industrial automation, Programmable Logic Controllers, or PLCs, are critical in controlling various machines and processes. One of the most widely used PLCs is the LS Electric XGB series, which is known for its reliability and flexibility. We will focus on wiring discrete inputs and outputs to an LS Electric XGB PLC, providing insights and tips for a successful implementation. Using the XG5000 programming software, we will connect to the XGB PLC and monitor the physical input locations. Turning on and off the outputs and viewing the inputs will test our wiring and ensuring we understand the addresses involved. Let's get started. Detailed information contained in this video can be found at accautomation.ca. A link has been put in the description below. If you have not watched the other videos yet, there will be links in the description below that will start you at video 1. There will be links to the rest of the videos in the series as well. Using ferrules for stranded wiring. When physically wiring inputs to PLCs, often these are screw terminals. Using a ferrule when using stranded wire ensures a good connection. Ferrules are any tube used to bind together strands of material together. In the case of wire ferrules, this tube is crimped to ensure that all wire strands are kept together. Strip off the end of the wire and place a ferrule on the end, ensuring that all the wire strands are in the tube. Use the crimping tool to crimp the ferrule tube. Discrete inputs. Connecting sensors and switches, discrete inputs interface the PLC with various digital sensors and switches such as limit switches, push buttons, and proximity sensors. These inputs are critical for monitoring the status of different devices and signaling the PLC to take appropriate action. When wiring discrete inputs to an LS Electric XGB PLC, following a few steps is essential to ensuring proper functionality. First and foremost, selecting the correct input type with the LS Electric XGB PLC is critical. DC or direct current inputs on the CPU can be wired with the common point at 0 volts DC, syncing, or 24 volt DC, sourcing. In our case, we'll be wiring the common at 0 volts DC for our inputs and outputs. Follow the wiring diagram provided by the manufacturer. It's critical to pay attention to the polarity and voltage specifications when making the connections to prevent damage to the PLC or the connected devices. The onboard I/O of the XGB PLC requires 24 volt DC power. Connect the power according to the manufacturer's wiring diagram. We can now wire the push buttons to the PLC input, starting with the 24 volt signal wire. We will wire the normally open and O of the green switch and the normally closed and C of the red switch. One side of the lamp will also be wired to the 24 volt signal. The other side of the normally closed green switch will be wired to the first input, IX0, which we will be using a yellow wire. The other side of the normally closed red switch will be wired to the second input, IX1. We will be using the red wire. The XGB series offers a variety of input modules with different voltage and current ratings to accommodate diverse industrial applications. These modules or cards can be added to your PLC system. Labeling the input terminals and documentation of the wire scheme can greatly facilitate troubleshooting and maintenance activities in the future. Since this is just for testing, we are using different colored wires so you can see the connections. Discrete Outputs. Discrete outputs control actuators and devices such as solenoid valves, starter motors, and indicator lamps. These outputs enable the PLC to activate and supervise different components of the system based on the programmed logic. When wiring discrete outputs in the LS Electric XGB PLC, it is essential to adhere to best practices to ensure safe and reliable operation. Like discrete inputs, selecting the appropriate output voltage compatible with the LS Electric XGB PLC is the first step in the process. Our CPU outputs on the XGB PLC are syncing. This means that the common for the PLC voltage is at 0 volt DC. Once again, refer to the manufacturer's wiring diagram. Our outputs will be the LED lamps with the green and red push buttons. The other contact of the LED lamp for the green light will be wired to the output QX0 with a brown wire. The other contact of the LED lamp for the red light will be wired to the output QX1 with a black wire. Our wiring is complete. Power up the PLC. You'll notice that the input 1 is on. This is because it is wired normally closed contact of the red push button. If no one is touching the switch, the signal is 1, high, or on at the PLC. The XGB series offers output modules with different current and voltage ratings to meet the requirements of different actuating devices. These modules or cards can be added to your PLC system. Labeling the output terminals and documentation of the wiring scheme can greatly facilitate troubleshooting and maintenance activities in the future. Since this is just for testing, we are using different colors so you can see the connections. It is also essential to ensure that the connected devices stay within the current capabilities of the output module to prevent overloading and potential damage. Testing wiring, ringing out the inputs and outputs. Testing is the next step once the inputs and outputs are wired to the PLC. This is sometimes referred to as ringing out the I/O. Start a new project using the XG5000 programming software. We will place an end statement for our program. Set the IP address and connect to the XGB PLC. We have previously covered how this is accomplished in a previous post. You will see the status of our PLC connection at the bottom of the XG5000 programming software. Green means we are connected and the PLC is running the program. Red means that we are connected and the PLC programming is not running. Write the program to the XGB PLC. Call up monitor 1 and enter the input contacts. Activate the monitor icon on the main screen to view the status of the inputs. We can now activate the inputs and see the corresponding bits turn on and off. Add the two outputs to the monitor 1 window. Double-clicking on the output status will allow you to turn them on and off. You will see that our green and red LED outputs light. This ensures that our LEDs are wired correctly. General tips and considerations. When wiring discrete inputs and outputs to an LS Electric XGB PLC, several general tips and considerations can enhance the overall installation and operation. 1. Grounding and shielding. Proper grounding and shielding techniques should be employed to minimize electrical noise and ensure signal integrity. 2. Cable routing and protection. Carefully routing and protecting the input and output cables to prevent potential damage and interference from external sources. 3. Safety considerations. Following safety standards and practices is crucial in preventing accidents and ensuring a secure working environment. Number 4. Testing and validation. Through testing and validation of the wired inputs and outputs are essential to guarantee proper functionality before integrating them into a more extensive control system. Wiring discrete inputs and outputs to an LS Electric XGB PLC requires careful planning, attention to detail, and adherence to best practices. By selecting suitable modules, following provided wiring diagrams, and documentation and installation, you can ensure reliable and efficient integration of sensors, switches, actuators, and devices with the PLC. Proper grounding, cable protection, and safety measures further contribute to a successful installation. With these guidelines, you can confidently wire discrete inputs and outputs to the LS Electric XGB PLC for various industrial automation applications. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. If you have any questions about the video, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it. If you want more information about us or you want our free ebooks on numbering systems or robust data logging, please click on the link in the description below to get it. A new video is posted every Monday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button to get more videos like this in the future. Remember to click the bell beside your subscription to actually receive those notifications. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe.